Hello all. IGT is a channel which is meant to build confidence in individuals on the tools and technologies learned through this channel. So as part of this video, I'll be covering uh, introduction to AB-INITIO. So before learning AB-INITIO, let us first go through a few things about AB-INITIO. AB-INITIO is a Latin term which means from the beginning. And this Ab Initio software company is based from Lexington, from Massachusetts. Actually, Ab Initio is a general purpose data processing platform, and it's a single architecture which can process files, database tables, message queues, web services, and the same architecture can be executed graphically and also in a command line mode. And yeah, Ab Initio is best to its parallel processing. That means it can process data in parallelly across multiple processors in different servers. And like before learning about Ab Initio, the main things that we need to know are graphical development environment, cooperating system, enterprise metadata environment, component library, and data profiler. So let's just look into the architecture of Ab Initio. So the GDE is a graphical development environment, which is a front-end tool where everything is in a UI format. So here you can design actual graphs, and the operating system is the server, which actually stores everything that you have designed into the server. And whenever you execute a graph in GDE, that actually sends a request to server, and then the operating system will be taking care of getting the data from different data sources and loading it into the data warehouse. And we also have a EME, which is a metadata, where every change which is done to a graph in GDE is tracked and maintained in metadata. In detail, when we go through each and every tool, first let's know about graphical development environment. I mean, as I said, this is a UI interface where you can drag components, Ab Initio components, and design a Ab Initio graph to process data from one stage to another stage according to the business logic. I mean, it is well enough that we can also check the record count at every stage and work on the performance tuning. And the cooperating system, as I said, it is the basic foundation for all the Ab Initio applications, and it acts as an engine for data processing and also the communication between all the tools inside the Ab Initio. And this runs on mainframe, Unix, Linux, and also on Windows. And this particular operating system will be taking care of parallelism. And as I said, enterprise meta environment is a database which keeps tracking every change that is made to a graph in GDE. And components library is a uh, library that has all the components which is used to design a graph. And the data profiler is an analytical application where uh, where a developer can profile his data on number of distinct values, the minimum and maximum values of a particular column, and the invalid values and so forth. So now, before learning about Ab Initio, let me give you some overview on what how can we know about the technical terms of Ab Initio. First thing, all the project folders in Ab Initio are called sandboxes. So that means if there is a project that is going to be created, there should be a sandbox that needs to be created in Ab Initio. And each sandbox has a mandatory folders called bin, DML, run, XFR, temp, logs, DB, and flags. Let me tell you uh, what each folder does in brief. So bin has the main script which calls the which calls all the graphs that are designed in the ab initio GDE. And run is a file where it has all the details of what is the source, what is the target, what is the ab initio graph that it needs to be executed uh, to load the data into data warehouse, and what is the business logic uh, that needs to be referred. And we also have a DML folder where we'll be declaring the DDL structures of source and target. And the XFR folder has the business logic where how the graph is designed. And temp is a file, is a folder where you create some temporary files that can be used in your ab initio graph, uh, to store some temporary values and all. And logs is a logs is a folder where runtime logs of a ab initio graph are created. And also we have flags where you can place few touch files to make a graph wait until that particular flag is received. And also we have a DB folder where we'll be declaring all the database related information. For example, uh, if I'm trying to connect to Oracle and load the data there, I'll be giving the details of my Oracle database, in which path it is installed, what is the username, and what is the password. So the examples of run file, DML file, and DB file and XFR file is presented here. Uh, when you look at run file, we have a uh, source .dml file. I mean, we are declaring the source, so what is our source, and we are declaring what is our target. And then XFR means the business logic. Run job is uh, the actual graph that is designed in GDE. Normally, when a graph is designed in GDE, that gets converted into a KSH script. So when we are trying to execute a script from a command line mode, we'll be using this .ksh file. And then a sample DML file, you can see it here, where I'm declaring my structure of the source or the target, and my columns are employee ID, branch number, and branch ID. And here my source is a flat file, so I'm declaring the delimiter here. And also you can declare whether that particular column is a nullable or not null. And then when you see this DB file, I've actually declared where is my client installed, what is the DB name, what is the DB node, my username and the password. So as I said, the XFR file consists of actual business logic. So it is declared in this way. Out to colons reformat in means it's a direct map, like what all the columns that we're getting from source, we are mapping to the target as is. As I said, we'll be designing graphs in GDE. An ab initio graph is nothing but a group of components uh, connected according to the business logic. So this will be taking care of the data flow uh, from source to the target according to the business logic, and this lets you think in terms of processing steps instead of lines of code. In a simple way, uh, a group of components connected as per the business logic to load the data warehouse. So we have two types of components in ab initio: dataset components and program components. The dataset components refers to a file component when they represent files, and table components when referred to a database components. So this dataset components can be a file component or a table component according to what it refers. If it refers a file, then it is a file component, and if it refers to a database component, then it's a table component. And program components are the components which have parameters that can set control how program operates. For example, I'll be setting few parameters where if those parameters satisfy, I'll be I mean asking another graph to be executed. In that way, we can use these program components, and every component has ports to read and write data. And we can also add, I mean, change this number of ports to a component in the properties tab. So, so in the next video, we can learn about each component in brief. Thanks for listening this video.